Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us in our SEXO roundtable. Right. Let me just introduce the topic that we'll discuss here today. The title of the session is "When Technology Creates Busyness but Not Progress." So, just to get into it a little bit more, see, the purpose of technology is to create empowerment for employees, to simplify things, right, to create progress. But many times, what we have seen is there is this sense of busyness in organizations, right? They are more busy than ever, but there's no actual progress happening, right? So people are more busy, but measurable outcomes are not there, right? So that is what we are here to explore. We'll try to see why that happens and how we can counter them. So to begin, why don't we start with certain anecdotes from your companies, your industries? If you can share certain stories where you have seen similar effect, I'm sure you will have some anecdotes to share with us, right? So the floor is open, and then from there we can continue. Yeah.
Okay. I fundamentally believe that the topic, although it is that the progress is, it's only one part movement. There's a lot of movement, but not enough progress. I fundamentally believe technology actually does both. There is a lot of progress which comes along because of technology. There is a lot that, and all of us have experienced that during COVID, right? When nobody really knew how to work from home, suddenly access for people who are living out of smaller cities, metros, and different countries actually happened. So it's not entirely true that there is progress, but at times what happens, and all of us have experienced that, I'll give you a few examples, wherein we try and get too many KPIs, too many new gadgets or shiny new toys which come in, which completely take you away from what the core is at times. So therefore, everybody seems busy, everybody is running, but you're not moving. So one example is when I used to work for PepsiCo, at that point in time, there were a lot of new, for logistics, S&OP used to be a big process where you try and plan for the future for the few months that are. So there are a lot of new tech which came in, a lot of new AI-led initiatives which happened, which opened up the number of KPIs from, let's say, 4, which you used to track, to 14, 15. And nothing really moved. The kind of efficiencies which were there earlier were there. Then we realized that just having a lot of KPIs doesn't necessarily help. You need to focus and align your organization goals with what you need to do. Brought it back down to 4 to 5, which was slightly different than the earlier ones. And suddenly everything started moving. That also got a lot of belief in the organization and people that, okay, maybe it can work. Otherwise, tech by itself is not necessarily something. So that's, I think it's a mixed bag. But if you don't do it right, there could be chances where you're making a lot of movement, but there's no action.
Yeah. I'll give 2 examples. One from like everyday life so that, we get it at a basic level. And then I'll give you an example from the experience that I have had. So when you see the fitness, I've recently become very conscious about fitness. So this is one example that I wanted to share. So we have a lot of technological advancement in the industry of fitness, isn't it? With the gadgets that you can wear, the data you can feed, the pattern you can see. But has fitness really improved? Because only using technology without making fundamental lifestyle changes, the question mark is, will fitness improve? So I'm just taking that route and, bringing the example of industry. So I had HR. I have worked in HR in multiple organizations. So in one of the organizations, we rolled out this very beautiful technological platform about learning. So if you type first-time managers there, you get like 1,000 links that you can go and read about, right? But I realized over a period of time that the adoption was very low. And then we realized that in today's world, whether you have zero information or you have millions of information, the outcome is same. Because people also get lost. So they don't know which one should I read first? How do I create the right kind of journey for myself? How do I do a diagnostic about myself and pick up the right kind of things so that it really becomes hyper-personalized? So I do see the benefit where you said, right, that technology really brings outcome, or there has to be something in between channelizing or catalyzing it towards really meaningful outcomes. So I just wanted to share these examples.
Maybe I can, I've come from the content creation industry. I produce animation, visual effects, art for computer games. So let me start by talking about my personal belief. Technology, in my view, has never invented anything in history. Anything that was ever brought about, and I think those examples will come out, is the power of ideas. And then those get translated into technologies that basically, come to you. Some of the confusion that was talked about, in terms of the fact that we are inundated with dashboards, but we don't have that much direction, is again the quality of thinking that goes into how it should happen. So every frame of what we create that you see in a movie, in Top Gun Maverick, or in a game, or in an advertising film, has 20 skill sets. Every frame. And some are equal. I'll put this in layman's language. Some are like sculpting, some are like painting, some are like acting, some are like various things, right? And so today, when you're looking at the age of automation, even in the last 10, 15 years, first of all, animation was on paper. Then it became software. Then the software improves every year, etc., etc. All of us have seen versions of Autodesk and other Adobe and so on and so forth, even in personal life. Where we are headed in the automation story today is going to be disrupted. So I know that in this conversation, someone will talk of cloud, someone will talk of various methods by which, you can do various things. But the bottom line is this, that ultimately it comes down to the quality of the human aesthetic. It comes down to the quality of how you supervise whatever is the technology that you're creating. And when you want to bring new people into the fold. So at my peak in 2 years back, I had 7,300 employees in India out of a global 12,000. So, okay. And the way to do that was, and I lost about 14,000 people during the same 15 years. So the question is, and you're looking at 3 or 4 generations, and each of these generations approach technology very differently from the other. So if you want to make a policy on how you should use security or work from home or whatever you talk about it, the complexity is huge. And technology both creates clarity, but it also creates confusion, right? And I think the dashboard story, and I've experienced it in being part of large multinationals like you, is that somebody there wants to see some data, and then everyone goes crazy trying to create a dashboard for that data, and you're looking at the creation of data rather than the insight into it or whatever. And I think I'll end by saying that today what we are seeing is that while a lot of us will be talking about disruption, and we'll talk about that later in the conversation, today there are tons of AI agents that do the modeling or the sculpt or the thing. So there's a discovery in content, there is a assist in content, and there's a polish in content. The discovery part is great. Today, if you are preparing for this talk, some of us would have gone into AI and found what is the story there, and you would have got 10, 15, 20 different iterations. Discovery is fantastic. When you actually need to do that job, you'll have tools to assist, but there is no enterprise model today in any industry. There's no AI enterprise model that works end to end for any solution. And maybe that's a question to pose to a bunch of young interns from XLRI for next few years. How do you now integrate these APIs into a stack that will actually give you an enterprise model? Maybe we can talk about that. Some people here might have answers. So I want to leave it at this stage by saying that I think it is the quality of the thinking that has to go beyond new technologies, because otherwise it becomes a fad, right? And I think in the last few years, we've seen many buzzwords that came out, metaverse, and many other buzzwords that have come out, but I don't think we talk about it so much anymore, except when I make a movie called Ant-Man, then you see the metaverse. So I'll end there. But I think for me, the use case is that we have to constantly use new software every year, because the last one doesn't work, because the machine needs, graphic card, memory, etc., etc. How do we therefore look at technology from a zoomed out level and not get sucked into what is the latest trend and get cut? Boards get hung up on that. We've actually seen companies go down the drain because they spend so much time trying to just make sure that the board and the shareholders were taken care of by number of charts, etc., etc. And this is a problem. Yeah.
So yes, so just we'll continue with your thoughts also. I'm just touching back on the topic, right? So yeah, absolutely right. We are not denying. Coming to your point that technology, we are not saying don't adopt technology. We're not saying don't go to transformations, right? Business will go through transformations. New tools will come. New technologies will come. What I want to understand through your experiences and your insights is, like we said, right, there's this tools overload, right, or process inflations that often happens because we are trying to get into many new technologies that are already there. And once we get into it, sometimes we have not thought of actual use cases, but it's more of adoption. And like you said, we want to show to someone, maybe the board, maybe CXO, the actual implementation or how we have integrated it, right? So there, when complexity gets in and the simplicity and the actual outcomes are lost, right? How how do we counter that, and why do that happen? That is what we're trying to understand. So yeah, I'll continue.
So maybe analogy from someone, an experience from the background I come from, as this is with the working with 3 to 4 startup ecosystems. Every organization go through a phase of form, storm, then perform, and then normalization. The adoption of technologies also needs to be married. Along with that, what much you would need in the formation stage to the stormation stage, and then to perform. And that's how the bell curve brings in across. And then you bring it in an analogy or of something called an Iron Man. Everybody wants to be an Iron Man, right? From having a Jarvis in the core and want to have everything. But if it in the formation stage, you want to have a Jarvis inside, you are bulking the organization. Instead of leap forward, you are actually putting it a laggard piece of it, because it's very bulky, because you may not need every of those data or technology to carry along, because you're not going to consume. So doing this married comes in across with 3 areas. One is must have in each phase of the organization, and so is with the careers as well, with the talent what you talked about. Second comes as the need to have, because that defines what is run the business, what is change the business. That will what will bring it the need of it. The last comes in across what is a change the business, because technology is disrupting. Okay. And you need to transform, and with the pace, the way the technology is disrupting the market. What was there 2 years before relevant, it is outdated. Metaverse is an example. Nobody's talking about it. But what is the next? Agent. I'm sure 2 years down the line, same platforms will be talking, having a team composition with 40% agent and 60% humans as a team members. Are we leapfrogging in the need of it? Not every organization will have agent and team members, humans. But the organization at a different phase, maturing, is what they will deploy the technology. If you adopt before, because you have money in the pocket, you can burn it. You will not consume it. And that is when board will push you back. Where is the margins, and where is the ROI, and where is the invest to the yield around it? I would just comment.
Yeah. One of the things that I was thinking about is I come from the HR world as well. I've spent all my career in HR. And one of the things that HR is benefiting from, to your point, is a lot of technology, because that's, HR used to always get the last priority for technology. Even in organizations, there's customers, there's business, and then HR. But I think on the people function, we get a lot of benefit from technology these days. But one of the flip sides of that is, how much are you listening to the actual voices of people, or while you are getting obsessed with data, right? One of the things that we are looking at, I work at Schneider, you look at data, but you also look at anecdotes. You started your question by saying, what are the anecdotes? I think there is a way, because of the obsession with data, sometimes you forget to listen to the voices. And if there is any ways that we can put enough emphasis between data and anecdotes, and I used to work at Amazon as well, and Jeff Bezos famously used to say, when you look at the data and, if the data is not telling you the truth and you listen to the anecdotes, I would go with the anecdote and not with the data, because the customer never tells the lie, right? So I think that's where I would sort of end by saying we should obsess with technology, data, but also look at voices and actual people's point of views.